I think we are safe to begin. And I'd love to start by introducing this amazing gem of an artist that I got the pleasure to meet last year. I'm going to give you a little intro for those of you that may have heard of her, or maybe you've never heard of her, and it's always good to know, well, who is this person? Why are they here? So Khadijah is a dedicated folkloric dancer known for her knowledge of traditional dances that celebrate cultural heritage and storytelling surrounding Afro-Arabian foundations. So she has years of dedication and training. She's captivated audiences worldwide through her dynamic performances that blend grace, passion, and history. Khadijah's work not only honors the roots of folkloric dance, but also brings contemporary energy to the age-old traditions, making her a standout in the dance community. So, yay, we're here! Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Of course, of course. I am so grateful to be here. I am so grateful. It's in the month of Ramadan right now, and anyone out there that's fasting, Ramadan Kareem. We're in our last 10 nights of last 10 days of Ramadan, and it's been really busy. So yeah, so thank you for bringing all this together at this time. So.
My pleasure, my pleasure. I know we had talked about maybe a couple disclaimers before we get into the subject.
Absolutely. And I want to say thank you to everyone that logged on and joining us in the future. First and foremost, I want to explain these are my experiences. These are things that I have noticed or things that I have grasped over my years in the dance community. So I don't ever like to profess and say that I'm a master of anything, that I'm an owner of anything. Not even in my own culture am I master of anything, because I am still learning. I am a forever student. So, and I don't ever profess to be the one be all end all of everything. So I'm a student and I love learning, and I will be a life student. So that's my disclaimer for moving forward with this discussion today.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that. And a lot of that's to say because our topic, for those of you that are just tuning in, maybe you just heard about this, it's talking about like how we're navigating or how to navigate the line between appreciation versus appropriation of culture in festivals in that setting, workshops, dance classes, and just some like ethics and etiquette and the discipline of learning. We'll be talking about a lot of this. This is such a big topic, and it's only 1 hour, right? But hopefully there's nuggets for everyone. And we are all human, so we're going to have a great time and have a supportive time as we talk about some things, right?
Of course, yeah.
And the goal of this show, Let's Talk Bellydance, is to talk about the hard stuff, the stuff that usually doesn't get out there in front of everyone or on the stage. These are the conversations that happen behind closed doors, and we're just trying to bring some more awareness so we can better our community, ourselves, and each other. So, yes. So I would love to kind of talk a little bit about just our background and how what we bring to the table as far as this conversation. And usually a lot of times how I like to say is, first let's define what is appreciation and what is appropriation. Just because it's been around, it's been like a buzzword for some time, but it's always good to make sure we're on the same starting point. So if you want to hit us out, what do these mean?
Exactly. So I love when these topics are being discussed, and I love when these things are talked about, especially in our genre of dance. When we talk about appropriation, okay, because you're right, this word has been thrown around so many times, misutilized. It's basically taking from when a dominant culture per se takes from a marginalized community. I don't like to say this word minority because we're no minor to anybody, first of all. So it's basically when people are marginalized and they will take something, they downplay the meaning of it. So they will often sometimes go anywhere between, mocking and even making fun of it. And sometimes they don't even realize that they are doing that. But overall, if it's degrading the culture in some way, while profiting off of it, basically. So getting back to what I was saying, but basically people are profiting off of the marginalization of people and not necessarily embracing the culture, not necessarily lifting them up. They're also trying to reinvent things that we've already done, reinventing and calling it something new and innovative. But no. And it's also that the credit is lost. Like there's no giving credit where credit is due. So just taking, and not necessarily giving back. So this is a problem. This is a problem. So it could be anything. It could be with food. It could be dancing. It could be music. So dancing and music are two. Number one, hairstyles, clothing styles. So any stereotypes that come from a marginalized community, that's stemming from a marginalized culture is being belittled and even mocked and even considered to be innovative or new. So that is appropriation.
And tell me a little bit about what is appreciation then?
Yes. This is the one that I like because this is the one that I hope to see more of. Giving credit back to cultures and giving credit back to marginalized communities and giving more than what you take. Giving back more than what we take. Okay, I'm going to speak to the belly dancers here. I'm going to speak to the dance community specifically and the musicians because we often take more than we give. So we have to be giving back, and we can talk about what that means a little bit. So, but you want to give more than what you take, but you don't want to erase the meaning of what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Not erasing an event, not reinventing it and calling it something trendy. Because remember, we cannot separate a culture from its music and its dancing. Okay, so we have to keep things together to where they originated in the first place. So learning how to be an ally within the culture. Okay, and that has multi-layers as well. So learning how to be an ally and learning how to support and give back and don't erase meaning. So that is appreciation.
Yes, and we'll go through some examples for sure.
Yes.
Let's begin with maybe some examples of, because again, these are such general like topics, and it's how do we usually come across it in our dance. This specifically, the belly dance industry, I think is always really cool to talk about so people can see where innocently it happens, where it happens, and they're like, oh shit, maybe I have to do some inner work here. Like we've all made mistakes, right? So talk to me a little bit about, you mentioned, hair color and fashion and stuff. So what are your stories with one of those, with maybe like the hairstyles one?
Yes, especially because culturally I am divided between two cultures. I am an African woman with Arab experiences. So I often integrate with many cultures of the African diaspora, especially that I live in United States. We often see hairstyles that are, kinky twist or Bantu knots or braids, for example, calling them Viking braids. I can do a whole presentation on what the Vikings wore and what they didn't wear, especially coming from someone of that tradition that I've spoken to directly. But anyway, having these hairstyles and saying, oh, these are twisty knots instead of Bantu knots, and knowing the culture and everything that the hairstyle represents. So it's a problem when I have someone coming from a total different culture, not understanding where that hairstyle comes from, telling me that this is something new and innovative that they've made up. And it's like, no, actually, that's not what that is about. But getting into the meat of that, especially in the belly dance community, there are certain type of aesthetics that restaurants or shows or certain people are looking for, and this is very detrimental to our dancing, because whatever their aesthetic is, because if you look at the Arab world, we are so diverse. They look like you, Jennifer. They look like me. They look like, very, very light, extremely dark people. So we have so many gradients of skin color, so many gradients of what hair is to represent. And I think that when we get into, looking at these aesthetics or trying to stereotype what an aesthetic, we have to be careful. We have to be really, really careful. There was a point in my career where I had really, really tight kinky curls in my hair, and I was told that I needed to straighten my hair before I danced in this restaurant. Or I need to,
Oh, wow.
yes. And there were also dancers in the community not having my back on that, and dancers out here, those same dancers are out there claiming to be allies, but that's a whole other subject. But the thing is that I was told my beauty aesthetics needed to be in order to be a successful dancer in their restaurant. And it's not only about being in their restaurant. I was told that my aesthetic is not pleasing for the stage. That I was actually told at one point that, especially when it came to like colorism, that my skin was too dark to dance. So I'm like,
Ah,
oh, okay. I didn't realize that I had to be past a certain skin color
I
to in
know.
order to dance. I have
Yeah.
been told, and I have been told that several times. I haven't been told that lately, but 22 plus years ago in my early career, I had been told that.
Hmm.
And so, that was the point of, where I felt really like, okay, so who's out there that have what we call so-called like white privilege or this aesthetic privilege? Who's going to have my back in this? And I never had that in my direct community, maybe outside of my community, but in my direct community here, because I live in Denver, Colorado, I never had someone to step in and say, hey, that's wrong. You cannot judge someone's aesthetic or their the way that their hair naturally comes out of their head or their skin. Like, this
Hmm.
is my natural skin color. I'm wearing a little blush today, a little kohol around my eyes, but this is my natural skin color, and I would be purple if I could. You know what I mean? I love my blackness. I love my dark skin, and I will never lighten myself or change myself. And I'm not, going against anyone that decide to do that for themselves, because everyone has their own path in this. But I'm just saying for myself, it felt really weird to be told that they don't like to see what you look like. They like to see you as you are because they want you to be something else.
This is so hitting on so many things. Yeah, the restaurant scene, I think a
It's
lot of
tough.
people have students, they go in and they're students, right? And it's their first gig and they've been told in their classes, oh, everybody is welcome. Everything, like the whole thing that gets sold in the commercial circuit classes. And then they go and do gigs, and especially if they are, as you mentioned, a certain color, if they are a certain weight, if
Yeah,
they are certain, I've even seen height requirements. I like you hear of everything in this industry. So for those of you listening, because not everyone's a restaurant gigging dancer, if you're a booker, you go through a lot of this ish because the owner has their version of what they think they, like you're mentioning, what they want the dancer at their establishment to look like. And that's where a lot of racism with, you got racist owners, you got prejudice. I mean, you get so many things in this industry, and not just owners, like DJs.
oh yeah,
I mean, like workshop circuit, like organ. Oh my gosh, like you see this everywhere. It's
yes,
very frustrating.
yes, and it is very frustrating because I know we're gonna talk about the um circuit of being at the festivals, and there's a lot that I want to say about that. But the thing is until these scheduling dancers or these dancers that are actually bringing dancers into the restaurants, until they step up and say to the owners, well, look, I understand that you have a certain aesthetic, but you know, this dancer is dynamic. This dancer is really, really good. Let's bring it back to the focus of what we're trying to hire here. You
Yeah.
want top entertainment, you know, you want top entertainment in your restaurant. Skin color and your hair texture does not uh, make or break that. It does not make or break that. I mean, it does not break that, is what I mean. And until we have those people that step up and say, look, this is wrong, this is not okay, it's going to be a perpetual downward spiral for them.
Yes,
You
and
know,
it's sad. It still happens all the time. I mean, I haven't been in the restaurant in like 15 years, but
I know.
wow, you know, you hear of it, and hopefully, like people that listening to this, if they see it, you know, start
Mhm.
advocating, start making changes. If you're the booker, just don't work with that client. Or if it's a private party, say, you know what, sorry, here's your deposit back, but we're not going to support you and
Mhm.
wanting this request for your event, you know? Like you
Mhm.
lose money as a booker when you're doing these things, and it's sad. It still has to happen. Like it's still there.
You're right, and it still needs to. It does need to happen. It needs to happen in the sense that we need to let these owners know, like, hey, you know, this is discrimination, this is racism. Like, just because you own the establishment doesn't mean that you can treat people in this manner.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, people are looking for ways to support culture and support people of culture. This is the way to go, especially if you have privilege as a dancer. This is a way to step up and say, oh my God, are you discriminating against dancers of African heritage? Are you discriminating against dancers, you know, that are Afro-Arab or that have very strong Arabic features? And even some Arab establishments don't want dancers that have very Arab aesthetics also. So
Yeah.
it's like, aren't I dancing in a Lebanese restaurant? Aren't I dancing in like North African restaurants, such as Moroccan restaurants? So there's a lot of very interesting approaches that a lot of these restaurant owners do. And I think it all boils down to just ignorance
Yep.
and how that person sees themselves. And that's a whole other subject that I
Yeah.
don't want to get into, but these restaurant bookers and these scheduling dancers, we must step up. We must
Mm-hmm.
step up. So as we talked about appreciation, you know, there's a way that you can tactfully tell somebody, look, this is uncomfortable for me and this is not okay. Because this is very discriminatory against someone that is a highly skilled, highly trained dancer. You know, this is not okay. So we really need these people to step up. This is the only
I
way to
so agree.
combat this.
Yeah. And I know that as someone that was a booker many moons ago, like you have to be okay always as a booker or a scheduler to lose money. Like I literally had some racist that like I was like, keep your deposit. I was like, keep it. It's fine. Like this is not going to work.
Yeah,
I've had ones that were really big on like a certain weight, and like my best dancers were not that certain weight, and I would be like, if you want the talent, blah blah blah, and they're like, no, no, and I'm like, keep the deposit. Like no
yeah,
harm done. Go find. Like you're gonna lose money. Sadly, be okay with that. Be ready for it. I'd rather say that here on this video recorded. Like you need to be ready to make a sacrifice if when you're gonna take some of these
yeah.
stands. Like and they
Just,
should
just like my late
respect
mother
it.
used to say, just like my late mother used to say, all money isn't good money. All money is
Mm,
because if,
I like that.
yeah, because
Yeah.
if it demeans you and it mocks you, it degrades you, you
Hmm.
don't want to be in a place that doesn't want you.
No.
Dancers don't want to be in a place that doesn't want you. You don't want to be surrounded by that because I
Hmm.
tried to really force myself into that. I started wearing wigs and like, straightening my hair and, you
Hmm.
know, doing all of this stuff. And I finally was like, what? This is how my hair naturally grows out of my head. So I'm not going to change this for anybody. And I'm not going to lighten myself.
No. Mm-mm. Good for you. Love it. This thing right here could be a whole life. Let me hold myself back and try to continue. It gets me like very fiery.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah. I know. I speak very passionately, and some people
I
are
love
like,
it.
"Oh my gosh, she's just." I'm like, no, 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 I never yell, but I am so passionate about what I feel. So if it comes across yelling, I am so sorry. It's
No,
not
no,
yelling.
you're fine. In my head, I'm just like, I feel pain because I
Yeah,
think with all of these lives, for anyone, like, I will be also like, I feel like I remember, I feel the pain. And I'm never going to know what it's like to be someone with dark skin dancing, someone who's a different, not the ideal weight. Like, I think all of us can agree that we've all felt where a venue or a specific place, even performances in some places, they're wanting a certain aesthetic that you feel you don't fulfill, and then you're like made to almost feel ashamed for who you are in a
yeah,
way, right? Like,
many,
and I can never know what it was like in your shoes. I can only imagine. It's just painful to
yeah,
always
and it
have.
hurt. Oh, it hurt. It
Mhm.
took, I have to be very open and honest on an open platform and say it took years of therapy. Took years of therapy for me to get over this. And I'm not going to sit here in front on a public forum and say that this did not hurt.
Mhm.
Damaged me. This hurt me to my core. And not only did it damage me and hurt me to my core, but I also thought I had really good lifelong friends that I were going to be friends with forever. I thought really had my back. And they were on board with the whole thing the whole time. And they pretended to be my allies. That's the part that hurt the worst.
Yeah, I bet.
And in my heart, I forgive these people because I think they feel like they need to do what they need to do at the time. But just in my experiences, I was damaged. I was deeply,
Yeah,
deeply
you're
by this.
crushed. Yeah,
Mhm.
but good for you. You're getting,
Yeah,
made it
so
through.
much better now. So much better now. So.
I love it. I love it. There was a story you told me. Um, Again, another kind of like example for our listeners of like how this manifests too is there was in the circuit, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, a Anglo dancer who lived in the KSA, and you have a story about that. And I found that if you can share with everyone, like
Oh
I
yeah,
went backwards.
yeah. Yeah, this would definitely be a short story because we all have the keyboard warriors that happened on our social medias, and I had an older Anglo woman that basically white woman that told me that there was a thread asking who's your favorite folklore dancer, and someone was specifically talking about Khadijah dancing. And my name popped up. Thank you for everybody that mentioned me. So I appreciate that. But this woman decided to go under every thread and attack me and say, I've lived in KSA, or known as Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I've lived there in the 70s. And the way that she dances versus the way I've seen dances or the way I've trained is completely wrong. So I'm thinking 70s, first of all, I was not born then. Second of all, this isn't about ageism either. Third of all, we have to realize that times have changed. That
Mm-hmm.
change, like from the way that my parents used to dance, is completely different than what we are doing now.
Yeah.
The tradition and the foundation is still there, but trust me, stylization, even the musicality has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so things are a little different. And so she thought she would go on and attack me. And of course, this was during COVID time when the things were really coming out of the woodwork, when
Yeah.
people were really showing their true colors and people were really acting out for whatever reason. And this was the point where I was like, you know, hey, everyone can dance the way that they choose to dance. This is the way that I grown up dancing. This is the way that I have learned from multiple sources, and we're going to talk about this here in a little bit of how I learned how to put my style together. And also, I am an African woman. I'm Kenyan, and so we dance a little bit differently than some people in the Gulf. And every region has their aesthetic and their stylization. So for this woman to say the way that I'm dancing was wrong, and I'm like, which style of folklore in the Khalij am I dancing wrong? Because we have billions. we have a lot. Everybody thinks that the thing that you see on stage with the hair, the thobe, and the shadow is the right way to dance. Like, no. And we have many types of elfan, many types of folkloric dance. So take your now, a lot of these foundations of these things does come from African traditions. So I found it funny that this woman, I believe she was originally Australian, but she's here in America and she's lived here for a long period of time. But for her to tell someone of the culture that what you're doing is wrong, and I'm like,
Interesting.
it's a
Interesting.
drastic I haven't seen in a long time. So again, people people really, really, really have to be careful with how they voice no they don't know, because a lot of times what you don't know about that person, or a lot of times of what you think you know, you have to be careful. You never know who you're speaking to or talking to. That's interesting.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Going into like the workshop circuit, kind of coming back to that, because that's the circuit I think where a lot of us join together in one space many times, as far as like students. And again, in America, the student base is very different than across the pond, right? So talking about here, just to give it some context, there are situations in workshop circuits, just like we mentioned in
Oh,
the gigging circuit. Oh, I lost you.
my phone is always falling. I'm so sorry. I'm not fit for this. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Behave. Please stay. I was saying, yeah. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I think that okay. I think that will work.
Going to the workshop sector now, and you'll get either whether you're a teacher teaching at the festival. Going back to the festival is just like that's where you're gonna have teachers there, you're gonna have students there, you're gonna have like even non-dancers there vending or taking part, or maybe the food, or you have a big kind of community joining most of the time at these things. Tell me about a situation at a workshop event, perhaps like you did some festival in Texas you mentioned in a previous convo. Love to give that example for listeners too.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because wasn't actually um, I wasn't actually invited to the festival because um, actually turned away. I was actually turned away from a festival because once again I didn't fit their aesthetic of dancing. So I sent her my CV and I said, this is my qualification. These are my qualifications. This is what I can bring to your festival. And I noticed that they were specifically looking for someone teaching Khadijah dancing. And I said, this is great. Wonderful. This is a festival from Austin, Texas. A woman that runs it is an Anglo woman that runs the festival. And I decided to apply and did get a reply back. And I thought I was going to get an email, but I actually got an inbox on Facebook that actually told me that, I'm not what they're looking for. And that's okay. That's okay. Everyone's cup of tea. But where the disconnect came in is that woman basically said I didn't have enough qualifications to be teaching Khadijah dancing. So I say, so I said, oh, that's very, very interesting.
Very
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, I didn't bother to argue. I didn't go back
Yeah.
and forth with these people. I don't argue with people on Facebook. I used to, not anymore. Not anymore. It's not worth it. But I thanked her time, and I only went back. I looked at some of their workshops, tried to pop up like on my feed,
Mhm.
and I was a white American woman who kind of said, "Oh, okay, very interesting."
1 second. Could you move back a little bit? I think your sound is kind of,
Is it going in and out? Okay,
yeah.
let me. Okay. Let me not try to tumble my camera here. So I will move this all the way back. Brief moment, please. I feel like, is that, oh, today is not my day. I am not good at this.
It's okay. It will happen. It will come together.
I am not good at this. Okay, so I think
You got
it's
this.
doing a little bit better now. I feel like,
Keep going. Yeah. Let me see.
okay. Well, I didn't even get an invite. I was turned away, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm turned away from festivals and things every day. There's nothing wrong with being turned away
Yeah.
because if I live by the principle, if it's not for me, it's not meant for me, and I'm not going to force anything that's not meant for me, and that's okay. But it was the fact that I was replaced by someone um, that that fit their aesthetic, as being, light, white woman with hair, and so on and so forth. And I was just very shocked that they qualification from a non-native versus a native. So it was um, another interesting step in my career where I was like, okay, it made me really start thinking about where the Bellydance community is going with it. What are they trying to prove? What are they trying to do with all this? Like, are they what are they actually looking for? Do they want Native people to be teaching, or do they want people with actual lived experiences in this region? Do they just want a white dominated uh, genre of an ethnic dance? So it was really confusing for me.
I
And
bet.
yeah,
This has come up in a lot of conversations, I feel like, behind closed doors with me and several dancers, where you kind of notice in America, again, I'm going to preface this with in America, and this is my opinion and the opinion of some others I've spoken of, you see the kind of the same group of instructors who have worked hard by all means, but they're not natives. Like, if you try to get a native dancer from any Menat region to teach the same topic, let's say, on a workshop, if it's not one of these group, and none of these group are Menat, by the way, it's like a hard pull if you're an event organizer. Believe it or not, it's so commercialized with the same group. I'm like trying to put my words together. And why is it this way? I think it's something we like. I keep asking myself, why is it this way? As in now more of an event organizer, where it's very hard to get someone that isn't part of the bubble to do well. And you have someone, when you do bring someone that is of the culture, and it's like, oh my God, it's always like amazing. It's harder to pull them because they're just not as worldwide recognition or whatever. And I'm like, these people know this way more than all of them combined, like it's a very strange thing hearing
yeah,
that experience.
it's really a double-edged sword when it comes to that, because I understand as a festival owner, it's about making money, and I understand that everybody needs to make money, hands down. Anybody that knows me, I'm all about collecting my bag. I get it, But the fact of the matter is that you don't. Again, not all money is good money, and again, if you have certain way you want to plan your festival and a way that you want to go about doing your festival, and you want to build your festival on certain principles or certain things, having the right people is the way to go. And the thing is that they would rather have women that or dancers had the aesthetic of what they're looking for, but not exactly trained, because it's a real dangerous and slippery slope to be teaching what you think a culture is or what you think a culture should be, instead of actually what it really is. This is
Yeah.
dangerous. And I'm seeing a lot of belly dancers do that. And this is very, very dangerous. So again, we got to get rid of this fantasy because that right there is appropriation. Not appropriation. So we are appropriating these festivals, whether people know that or not. Just because this dancer is in her school, all of her students, okay, great.
Yeah.
But if I was that person of the culture and someone teaching my culture and they're teaching representation of my culture, I would really.
And I've been a victim of this, actually. Like I shared, and I'm going to share it here. My story, I guess, for this segment is this was a while ago now when Iraqi dance came on the workshop scene, right? And it was a super famous instructor. For the first time I took several. And I was like so intrigued. What was being taught was a stylization that was created basically by European dancers. And it was being marketed as the dance of that culture. And being taught here by, again, non-Menat people who are definitely, now that I look at it, they were learning stylizing by their own super famous style, a stylized version of what the European culture had taken and changed drastically and repackaged from the origins of where it was supposed to be in Iraq. So that's the style I learned. I actually went to World and won in folklore with zero deep real, not like thinking that what I was taught and was being packaged as the real deal with several of these. Like it happened with multiple famous teachers because it was the trend, I think, that when it came out. And it was so exciting to see that. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. And I feel like that's always a big pull. Like when you go to these workshops or classes, you're like, oh my God, this looks amazing. I want to learn it. You don't know it yet. You're like, oh my God, I want to learn that, you know, like anything else. So for years here in America, learning the wrong thing from non-MENA. I mean, you can be non-MENA and like, no, you're ish, right? But no one knew the ish. And several years now, since my trip from Lebanon, when I came back, I was like, everything I know is wrong. I need to relearn everything, which is harder than learning it without having to relearn it. So always be mindful if you are at anything, a show, an event, be mindful of what you're watching, where it came from, like who taught them.
Yeah, and this is so dangerous. If any teacher is out here teaching a culture, teaching a cultural dance, teaching a cultural music that is outside of their culture. And like I said, even in my own culture, I'm still going back, staying relevant within my own culture. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But if these dancers are out here teaching movement and dancing and musicality, without any knowledge of the people, their lifestyle, what they go through on a daily basis, how did things come to be? If they spent no time with the people of the culture, I don't want to learn from you. I don't want to learn from you because, again, you cannot separate a culture from its music and its dancing. You can't separate it from food. You can't separate it from its clothing. You can't separate it from its religion. You can't separate it from all these life events. The thing is that there are many popular teachers out there that have great technique. Where's your feeling? Where's your feeling? I can easily see a dancer. It doesn't matter, you men, women, doesn't matter who you are, where you. I can tell a dancer that have not spent time with the people of the culture. Look at a dancer and doing a folkloric style if she has spent time with people of culture. Because dancing is very, very different. The energy is very, very different. The attitude is very, very different. The best technique, you can show me all of the tricks. You can do all the crazy hair work. You can do all of the crazy practice. But what did you give me? Where is your feeling? Where did you teach me something about you? Did you teach me anything about them? Did you teach me anything about how to feel in the moment? So when dancers realize that because I do a lot of dancing, I try to do a lot of dancing that is within my culture, but there are some dances that I do outside culture. And I
Mhm.
have responsibility, huge responsibility to bring that energy on stage and to teach people something about these people because you then an extension of culture.
Yeah.
You the minute you put I don't put them costumes either because these are articles of,
Yeah.
of clothing and garments that actually people can't take off. This is who we are every day. You know what I'm saying? So we can't take this off. You know what I mean? So I don't like to call it costuming and fixing up. You know what I mean? So the minute that you fix up on stage, every dancer has a responsibility to that audience that they are in representation of what they are doing
Yes. Yes.
in
And
representation of what you are doing. And it's very, very important because a lot of times people questions and they've never seen anything like that, especially never seen anything like that. They've never had exposure to anything like that. So the minute that they have had an exposure, you've shown them something. Now they're going to ask you a question. What's this from? What are the people like? What's the food like? And you're just making up stuff. This is dangerous because
yeah.
again, this is appropriating and this is representing misrepresentation of a culture. So if you don't have any lived experience or you don't have any experiences in that culture, go hang out with these people.
Mhm.
I remember I saw a beautiful Greek dancer teach an entire Khadijah workshop a rhythm. And I was very taken aback by that because, first of all, Khadijah is just more than just dedicated to one rhythm. We have many, just like Masri rhythm, Lebanese rhythm, all these types. But I actually saw her teach a whole entire workshop of Ayub based on an Egyptian rhythm. And I don't tell people, I tell people in, and this is what we need to learn in the belly dance community about calling people in and not calling people out. So I decided to call her, said, my dear, I would like to talk to you about some of the rhythms you used in your class. She was very receptive to it, and she felt really embarrassed. I said, don't feel embarrassed. Now you know that this is what occurs. It looks weird in to people, but to the ear, we know our music, and so sometimes they think they're dancing to what they think that they know. So
Mhm.
that all boils down to is there's never that should tell a dancer that should take more of this kind of class or that there's no such thing as taking too much musicality classes or you know what I mean, because we all need that constant and it's okay to get different perspectives, but it's okay to also question the source of information from your teachers.
Mhm.
Learn from if they don't and who were their teachers. Okay to ask. I love when people ask me about my dance experiences, my first teachers, who were their teachers, and who they learned from if available. It's okay to ask that question. Just because you're popular and you get a lot of likes in the Facebook, you get a lot, okay, does not prove your repertoire with the actual culture itself.
Yes. So true. So true.
To be asking these questions and if the teacher is upset from you asking this question, I might be looking for a new teacher.
Yeah, it might be a red flag.
Flag because I have to give credentials anywhere that I go because it's important for people to know. It's important for people to know. And
Yes,
it's
love that. To ask. It's something we're never even you even think to ask your teacher where who was their teacher, right?
that's
Like that's something that seems so simple, but how often does that happen, right? Love that. Um, all of these things. We've talked about workshop scenarios, we talked about restaurant scenarios, we've talked about a little bit of race, a little bit of aesthetics, and let's just say in general. then there's also even like the classroom, like etiquette. And I think it'd be kind of good to kind of round out just about with just some etiquette and things that happen here, I think in the US that are different than other countries. And again, this is very general, right? Like super general. But
it does really boil down to the etiquette and the discipline of learning. It really, really does boil down to that. It's just like, you know, and we have multifaceted people in this dance that just want to be highest and to do something for weight loss, or they want to do something to, you know, because their doctor said I need to lower my A1C and I really need to get moving every day. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But I think the etiquette of learning, especially on the professional circuit, I'm talking to my professional people, is very important. You can be a hobbyist all day. You can be someone that dives in it, experiments. That's okay. Again, this dance really is welcoming to everyone, regardless of experience in the past, moving forward. This dance is for everybody. However, the etiquette of dancing is also how you're behaving in that class, or how you behave towards the discipline. So I noticed, again, as I made the disclaimer earlier, this is something that I've noticed earlier in my career, is that when I started teaching the festival circuit, and when I started teaching outside of my own backyard here in Denver, Colorado, I noticed internationally students were more studious. They took their dance studies more seriously than dancers in America. Even I recently taught of University of Alberta at Edmonton at their international studies course. I took some information up there, did a presentation, and did a weekend with their dancers. I was shocked. These dancers were taking me seriously, like I was a professor at their college, like every note, even brought their laptops, asked questions, were like really studious and paid attention, interruptions, their behavior as students, no slouching, they weren't chewing gum, they were not talking in class, like they're not texting in their phones. They were so well so focused. And I was very, very shocked, because I'm not used to seeing that in America mostly. That I noticed outside, the people are so taking their dance studies so seriously. They're taking notes, they're actually studying, they're actually asking questions and engaging. And not just taking a movement and running with it. They are actually asking questions about the dance itself, about the people, about the environment that the dancing has come from. And it's so refreshing to see dancers taking their dance studies seriously, that they don't expect to be a professional dancer after taking 6 weeks of classes. They don't expect to be, being a master instructor after only 1 year of master, for whatever that means, after taking 6 months of classes. That they are constantly supporting not only people in the culture, but they're supporting all events. They're supporting, you see them in every class. They're showing up on time. Okay, they're not late. They're off their phone. They're lining up, ready to go. And it's not talking about like, oh my God, Khadijah went to the classroom to be military. I don't. But there is a certain, the same way like ballet have their certain discipline, and the certain, you can't even have your thumb under the bars. You have to dance with your thumb on the bar if you are able. Yes, and you have to wear your hair pulled back in a bun, probably. Like there are certain bits and pieces, the approach to the dance that is highly respectful. And I think in Arabic dancing, we are losing this, because I think it's just, and it's supposed to be fun, no doubt. I think if you are a professional together, we got to tighten up on the way that we are absorbing that information, because we are also delivering this information and getting paid to deliver this information. It doesn't matter if you're of the culture or not. It's the way that you behave when you're um, getting to be professional and so on and so forth. So, you know, again, I've seen many dancers in America be very, and I don't want to be negative with American dancers, but we've got some dynamic dancers here, and we've got some very serious dancers here. So I don't want to keep saying the West, because I've seen this in other places too. It's the way that the dancers here take their studies is not serious, or the way, I would say, the movement has changed versus when I used to take, I still take classes, but when I was like taking classes 5 to 6 days a week for like hours in a day, 20 something years ago, the mentality has changed, the approach has changed,
Yes. Yeah.
and even the teaching style has changed. So I wonder what we do as educators to really adopt that studious student and build up that seriousness and help build that discipline up. We are taken more seriously in our dance careers. So I think this is very important.
Yes, we see it all the time, or at least, I mean, I go to workshops all the time. So you'll see people drinking their coffee in the middle of class, deciding that they're tired or maybe they're sore. So they stop, which is fine. But they'll start to have like kind of loud conversations, texting, um, coming late, not being prepared with their lunch. If like, if you're at a full day, have your food, like, like, and it causes disruptions, and like, we're human, something's gonna happen, right? It's not like to be like, oh my god, if I don't do all these things, but these are the
Mm-hmm.
things that can disrupt the flow of your instructor who's trying to teach you, the flow of your fellow colleagues who are trying to listen, like hear it, because not everyone can hear perfectly, see it, not everyone can see perfectly, and like learn. There's also a lot of not a lot, let me rephrase that. There are things for those listening that are also maybe like not aware. You'll have things like dancers who've maybe been around a while and think that they are now entitled at sometimes at workshops or classes, and they behave a certain way that it's maybe not as professional. Like if they're not getting paid somehow, it's like a different person in a way. That gets really scary. So like when you see things like that, maybe look and reflect in yourself, or if you've seen it in another, kind of say, hey, I can't hear. Do you mind toning it down? I'd really like to hear the instructor. Like really nice. It doesn't have to be mean. Sometimes people don't realize what they're doing. It's like this behavior they've had, and there's levels, like I said, of entitlement that can happen, and all these things that are not very healthy for the community.
Definitely multiple levels of entitlement, not only from the instructor, but also as well as the student.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had one teacher to teach you one way, that doesn't always mean that that is the way that the dance is, that is a concrete, solid way how that dance should be and will be performed.
For sure.
And to all my students that have studied with me, I recommend you, and I suggest you go out. I don't want you to study with me the whole time. As much as I appreciate it, I want you to study with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always said this, especially coming out of veterinary school. I've always said that no such subject is a hard one. There's no such subject difficult. Is who relays the information, and time can also one that could be able to relay the information. It's a little bit more relatable. That can be to relay the information in a way that easy way that everybody could easily understand. Sometimes, especially dealing with people in culture or people or dancers of origin, musicians of origin, we all have calculated answers for every single movement. We don't always have calculated answers for every single musicality, every was break in the music, or why would you do this way. Sometimes it's a matter of stylization. Sometimes it's a matter of, you know what? This is something that people people from my village did, or this is something people from my city did, and it just comes out against because this is what we're known for. So sometimes we don't always have the calculated answers, and just because it's not a calculated answer doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So to my know-it-all students out there, just know that our dance is very vast. Just know our musicality is very, very vast. And just things out there that we actually cannot explain to where the origins have come from. We can show you what fits into the music and how it works in the dance style. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure. Now that we've talked a lot about different examples of what this looks like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's almost, we're going to be over a little bit, guys. Okay, we're going to do our best. Some mistakes, like we are all human. We have made mistakes, like here on this call, like all the time. We're human people. So maybe quickly just a couple of mistakes, you've done in your career because shoot, we all do them. Like it's okay, it happens.
made plenty of mistakes and have paid for them and have hard to clean those up. I would say first and foremost, the biggest mistake, and this may come off as a little rash when I say it, but I thought everybody, my friend, everybody in the community stood by me, and I thought, even my own people had my back, and people that were really, really close to me really had my back and supported my decision to make this professional, by dancing professionally. That was a very big mistake that I made because not everyone was in my corner. Boy, not everybody was in my corner. I have had to let a lot of things go. I've had to let a lot of people go in my career because it was just negative all the time. Telling me, oh, well, you've got this, you've got a degree, you went to, you have, you're an emergency veterinary medical professional. Like, why are you doing this? And you work with a good job already, and why are you out here doing this? And people don't realize that art is a job also.
Yeah.
Being an artist is a job. And people that were in the community with me at the time, I didn't realize were very competitive and was like a competition, and I had no idea, but I was competing with other people and didn't know it. And I'm like, I'm not competing with anyone. I'm just trying to be better, a better person, 1% better every day. I had no idea that this was like a competitive within a friendship circle. So, that's something that that was a hard pill to swallow. That was something that I had to deal with. I would say mistake number 2 for me was, even though everyone says that you come in the dance, and we kind of touched this over, that in the dance community that I study with, profess to be master teachers, all this mastery, but I noticed didn't exactly have direct lived experiences or was not from that culture. So I noticed that during my thinking that when I first started many, many moons ago, I didn't realize how many teachers that were not of origin were not teaching. And it was really hard for me. I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, I know one that's like me. And it was really hard to, that was really, really hard to stomach at that time. And then, the whole mastery of the dance, that's a huge responsibility to take on. That's a huge name. That's a huge title to take on. And so I'm like, okay, so you're a master, and people are looking into these people uh, as masters, and it's like, so you're master of the people, you're master of the food, you're master of the culture, you're master of all of this, you're mastering of the dance, you're mastering of the music. And then I'm like, okay, so what does that even mean? What does it mean? So I really had to pull back some layers and ask, what does this even mean? So I think I was looking up to certain individuals and in the dance community, and I would get down because I felt like there was so much information had been taught, and I also felt like for someone that looks like me, I didn't feel welcomed all the time. I didn't feel welcome, even if, like this is my culture. But again, I am not master of my own culture. But I was hoping to feel a little bit more warmth, and I was hoping to feel a little bit more welcoming. But I felt outcasted the majority of my career. I felt very outcasted. I felt very much as an afterthought, and I felt very much as, let's fill our quota for hiring a Black woman because this is what needs to happen, or hiring an Afro-Arab woman because this is what needs to happen, especially with the turn of COVID. You see many Black faces and many Black and many posters. Now look at it. You see the same white dancers on the same posters all the time. You don't see representation of people coming from those cultures, or even having lived experience. You see the same white faces, and a lot of these people are my friends. No, a lot of these, we had these conversations outside of the public forum. But the thing is that at the same time, very welcoming to me in the beginning, because being a leader, you have tools, everybody knows you. You have the most in social media, and bring in money. And my push was, nobody knows who you are. And that's okay if nobody knew who it was. But me dance, did you look at my CV? Did you see credentials? Did you ask me to give you a demo video of me performing for you? Did you have a conversation with me, asking me about my background and my history? Absolutely not. These were all based on assumptions. So again, this is something that start having these conversations more in the dance community. My third mistake was thinking that none or dancers that are not of sorts, or dancers that are of the culture, or sorry, outside of the culture, were the biggest allies. Like, my American dancers and my European dancers. I'm just gonna bluntly come out there and say that I thought a lot of my white, brothers and sisters really had my back there. And when I got around and someone was doing something bad, like for example, the restaurant owner was like, "Well, I don't want her dancing because she's Black." I thought they would come up and say, "Hey, stop." Well, no, they perpetuated it. They perpetuated. And so again, I learned to pass it, but I thought that some people really had my back. I thought the community was so like this. I really had to sort through. I really had to sort through the community and really find my people.
Yes, finding your tribe. My goodness. Oh, there's so much there. Okay, I gotta. There's so many topics just on this. Really quick, like I mentioned, my mistake assuming that a master instructor was a master in a given style, certain culture, like we mentioned. Not really even seeking a mentor from the get-go. Like, you don't know what you don't know. My first thing was like, wow, Bellydance, you want to learn. And who was around in that area? Non-Menot instructors. So super grateful to my first teacher. Love her, amazing, but it would be awesome for more people to sooner find more Menot sources, for sure, if they don't have it already from the beginning. And not citing sources automatically. I love how you mentioned say where, from who, what, give the credit. That was not something that I even thought of for years.
Yes.
In the career.
It's the walk down the street in the village. Like, if you learn from her, that's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's your first foundation. Even if you learned from, because people are multi-talented, multifaceted, and it's very important that we ask about our sources. You don't have to be combative about source of information that may seem wrong or whatever. That's a whole other subject. But it's okay to ask about a dancer's previous training.
For sure.
It's okay.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Now let's talk about some solutions for our listeners. We've talked a lot of like the right? And mistakes and things that have happened, things that we see. What are some of the things that you have feel would really help the community on this topic? Just two or three that can hopefully make a difference from anyone listening, or maybe they know of someone and maybe they can have those conversations. We spread the love.
I I highly recommend it to really take time to just sit and listen. Just sit and just talk and just listen with people of the culture. You'll be very surprised what you learn. You'll be very, very, very surprised. So try your best to just listen, absorb, watch their body language, watch what makes them sad, watch what makes them happy, watch the source of words that they use to describe. Watch them talk about stories that just makes them just come alive. Just really sit and listen. Don't advice. Don't try to say, oh, well, this is my experience. No, 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 no. Listen to their experience. They're spending time with you. You are there to learn. We are there to learn. Okay? Sit and listen. Just and just and ask questions. Ask more questions. You don't have to prove anything. We're not looking for any proof. You don't have to prove. You just want to talk. Okay? Have dialogue. Just ask questions instead of speaking as if you're trying to prove who you are. We don't prove. We just want to be heard.
Love it.
Try the best to study with dancers or dancers of the culture. Study with people that have actually had real, live, lived experiences within the community. It's amazing how many dancers don't. How many dancers don't really? And if you can't afford to travel, every city has pockets of communities. Go support their businesses. It's appreciation, by the way. Go to the coffee shop. Go to their grocery store. Go to an establishment where they all gather, and you can just even sit and observe. You can just sit and watch. You can just try to make eye contact or smile at someone and say hi. My name is Khadijah. I really love to just be here. I love the music. I love the food. I love the tea. Try to find a commonality with the person that you are interested in their background. Try to find a commonality. Don't try to prove. Try to say like, I'm a white woman. I'm on your side. We don't need to hear that. Just want to be heard. Don't prove. We really think that you just go hang. You don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to. It's better if you go travel and you can see how people live in their communities, how they are in the environment. But you can go, be at coffee shop, tea shop, in the grocery stores, and maybe like start a conversation. Ask, well, what's this product? Just the little conversations. You think, what the heck does this have to do with dancing? You have to, because you're observing how this person behaves. You're observing their energetic exchange between something so small as a food product from their culture. That could be a product that they had when they were kids, and they were like, oh my God, this makes me so happy because we used to eat this as children. But why did you eat this as children? And then again, starting dialogue, and more you hang out, just go and just be. Don't prove anything. Don't just try to find a commonality and go from there. That right there is a part of allyship, and that right there is a part of appreciation. And again, going back very, very briefly to being an ally and what that means, there's a lot of things about the right. There's a lot of things said about not enough being said about Sudan, and not enough being said about Haiti, not enough being said about the Congo and all the many Lebanon and all these other marginalized communities, people are like, what, just because I post about it every day doesn't mean that I'm doing anything. So I want to make a disclaimer to my dancers and everyday people, or even in the belly dance community. You don't have to post anything. What your responsibility is that nobody's business goes with that community as long as you are in support of the community.
Yep.
So what we do our backs when we're not watching is to make a donation. You can go support an event. You can go online. There's many donations that you can get online. There's many resources you can do. You don't have to post big events, and you don't have to post about it. You can quietly say something in your social media if you want, but you don't have to get out there and just be blunt about it, like hardcore. Like if we love that, we love to see that, but there is a such thing as silent participation.
For sure.
I don't post my good deeds every day, especially Ramadan. Like, no, I don't post good deeds every day. I do what I do, and I make sure that I am uplifting communities that I am directly taking from, and I don't have to post it. I don't have to put it on social media like, look, body,
What I did.
you don't, and don't make anybody make you feel bad about not actively posting. Okay, as long as you're out there doing something, don't your money. You voice your opinion. If somebody is out on the street that is pushing genocide, stop. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need to make a YouTube live. You don't need to make an Instagram live about it to prove it. Put that person in their place. That is a form of activism. That's a form of giving back. Again, so many ways that we can give back to these communities that we don't have to be like, what I'm doing. Look at me. Those that me, well, I am a very private person.
Same.
I don't go around talking about what I do every single day. Just know, honey, I'm out there doing work whether you know it or not. And they could be out there doing the work whether you know that or not. Just because it's not the activism that you're used to, or just because that's not the activism that you want to see, doesn't mean that it's getting done.
Love that you said that, because that has been, I'm telling you, people think it's like social media is not the real world. There's so many ways to be you, and social media is just one little tiny thing if you choose to partake. It's not who you are, you know? So love that. Oh, that alone needs to be like a reel. Another funny dichotomy.
Really get in right along with, spending time in these communities. You know what I mean? Because everybody is hurting. Everybody has reached some sort of genocide. Everybody is going through hurt right now. We are all hurt. You're black, you're brown people. We are not okay. We are not okay. Check in. Even a form of activism is picking up the phone and calling or texting your friend in Lebanon and say, hey, I'm just thinking about you and your family. How are you doing? What are you needing? That is a form of activism right there. That is a form of allyship. That is a form of appreciation.
Yes, 100 billion%.
Just the small things,
I
checking
love
in.
it. I love it. So much there. Yep, completely. And there's even more ways. These are just some already. Like you already said so many beautiful things for sure. Um, to wrap it up, you mentioned so many. Make sure, yep, go get out of your local bubble. I think that there's a way to sum it up. Just get out of your bubble. Like, who's your initial circle of people in your personal life? If there
Mm-hmm.
isn't someone of the culture in there, I mean, you don't be like fake trying to go, make a friend or a buddy of the culture, but get out of your circle. Like, even especially if you're like a professional dancer, you've probably met a ton of people out of your normal circle. You have so many opportunities, from the restaurant owner to the server to the other dancer to the teacher to the venue, like so many ways to just engage. So I just love what you said there about just talk to people, listen, get
Yep.
out. Um, and then maybe just some closing remarks, if as we talk about all the things we've gone over so much, and so many could just be a whole topic on their own, but
It
Your
really.
message to anyone listening, what would that be? A couple, round it up.
Oh, okay. We'll try to wrap this up because those that know me know I love to talk, but I really encourage dancers to take their dance studies more seriously, please. Please take your dance studies more seriously. The more folkloric you take, yeah, it may not be sexy, may not be glamorous, but it doesn't mean that it is the low point of that community, and it's often the high point of the community. If you love Raksa Sharki, please, what do you think Raksa Sharki is? It's a conglomeration of folkloric dances and beyond. I highly encourage you to study more folkloric, study from as many people as possible, study from many sources. Make sure that you are reading books. This is another form of activism. You can't find these pockets of Minette within your community. Go to the library. Pick up a book about Yemen. Pick up a book about Oman. Pick up a book about Morocco. Pick up a book about Libya. Go pick up a book and read the basics of the community, about the basics of the people. Just go and, there's a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of language classes. Duolingo is free. I know Duolingo isn't always your source because they've gotten some things wrong too. I've noticed in their Arabic section and their section, Russian section, they've gotten things all wrong. But anyway, just learn things that you never thought would make your dance. That would give you a feeling, or give your dance an extra layer of spice on top of it. Getting to learn about the different religions. Okay, this is very important because some people don't realize that how in some cases religiously is how people conduct themselves. Religious behavior really is a thing, and there are things religion dictates. So get to, you can ask to go into their mosque, their masjid, go into their temple, go and ask to be invited as a part of their church service. There are so many things that we can do. Just mostly staying in the know of that. So there's a lot of resources out here. So just because, there's turmoil and struggle, that doesn't mean that there's beauty in their community. So, and especially this is time to really ask people, especially the people of Gaza, especially the people of Sudan, especially the people of Congo, like, what's your music like? What's your food like? What's your traditional dress like? Something to take the minds off of what is happening in the community. And they were, and they are often surprised that you even care to learn about those things. They get so surprised that our struggle, turmoil. We don't have to be that sort of pain. We can teach them about basic things. Moving forward, we can also hold our masters accountable, hold our teachers accountable, hold professors accountable to the math, hold them accountable, and making sure that being the culture, that they're not separating the culture, the people, from the music and the dancing. It's like this. We cannot separate the two. It has to be like this, okay? Making sure that we are learning about their lineage. So we are continuing on that lineage. Never, ever, ever stop learning. We are never up here, that we continue to learn and learn from as many sources as possible. That is my takeaway from today. Never stop learning.
I love it. I love it. I would say similar as well as far as the learning. I feel like a quote that has always stuck with me is the more you learn, the more in this industry, the more you learn, the more you don't know. So
yes,
be okay with being uncomfortable. You want to be uncomfortable.
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. And for me, this year, this is my year of learning. So I'm learning from everybody possible. You see me in all types of workshops. I'm even going to the base of my my dancing. So I'm rebuilding foundation. I'm making it stronger. So for me, this is a year of learning. I'm always learning, but it's really intense for me this year because I'm unlearning a lot of things and I'm relearning a lot of new things too. So
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. I love it. And I think my last takeaway for all the listeners is we've covered some heavy things, and you're going to see so much on social media, so much in circles, so much being said, so much it shows. Again, the more you see, the more you notice, the more you learn. You're going to have opinions, and that's all good, perfectly fine. But just always have some empathy. We're not all going to agree. We can always communicate with respect. You can respect your enemy, even.
yeah,
Always remember that. So as things come about, there's always going to be difficult things. And this topic is one that is very difficult for a lot of people. Just always remember to be envious, to be respectful, to just try to be the best human one can be. And don't do, hopefully, no witch hunts. I've seen this more recently since COVID in the community, and even more recently again. You can have the best intention to call someone out, but is that really the best? And especially online, just talk to someone,
yeah,
be a
doing,
community about your differences.
yeah. And women need to really sticking to, like, you don't call anyone out, call them in. There's a
Oh,
difference.
man, I love
Call,
that.
don't call anybody out for what? Call them in, say, hey, this is what's up. You would get that much more respect. You
Yeah.
really would.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing all your stories. I know I always say you have to be very brave to talk about all these types of things. So I really, really appreciate your honesty, your authenticity as always. You're always a hoot to chat with. And thank you. I hope everyone can learn some things, get some inspiration, some ideas, do some reflection, and continue to enjoy your day. And everyone,
Yeah.
if you have any questions, anything at all, let us know. We do have some comments. So I always like to end with just reading a few things if there's any questions, and then we'll let you on for the rest of your day. So, Joelle, it's so typical seeing discrimination disguised as tradition or aesthetics. This is the beginning of the conversation. Karen Cat, lovely, you're pure magic.
Yeah. Sweet.
Joelle, fun fact, when she took your workshop, a woman spent a good 5 minutes talking to me as if I was Khadijah. I kept wondering if she just couldn't fathom that there would be two black women in that class.
Oh, no, what? Yeah. 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 There's a story.
Pierre is sending, hi Pierre Haddad, I love him, sending you some flowers.
Dad was here. Oh,
My Pierre was here. Kelvia, she loves you.
you, Calvia. What's up, girl?
She loves, and I love this too, if there's like a moment where you kind of say, we can't take this off. I think that was such a strong statement, and Kelvia totally, yes. Joelle, that's why I love that my teacher attends so many classes by dancers of the culture. Mm,
Important.
I need to get a clip of this part to share. This is beautiful. That's, I think, the moment, that's towards the end, where you're talking about like how you can be an ally, and it doesn't have to mean posting on social media or being super aggressive, like on in front, face facing. So yeah, I agree. And let's see, any questions? Saw this live. Yes, thank you. If anyone has any questions, this is going to get published as always, so feel free to put them in the comments and we'll be happy to chat with you. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for your support, and thank you so much, Khadijah, for your love and your spirit.
So sorry, it was a rough start. My camera kept falling, and it's like, oh my God, sorry for the rough start, but made it through. Thank you all for watching. Those who are going to watch, again, I am all up for questions. Please inbox me, please email me, send it to my home with the note attached to it. I love it. I love hearing from you all. So you all help me grow. So thank you for that.
I love it. All right, I'm going to put your socials and your website on the post too. Bye, everyone. Mwah.
Have a great day.